Well, thank you guys for managing to get into our webinar. Apologies for the confusion on the start time. There was some kind of weird time zone thing in the software that I wasn't able to fix. So we all made it, or a lot of us made it. So thank you very much. And my name is Chell Lim. I'm here on Salt Spring. I'm one of the Salt Spring Community Energy members. And just want to make a quick acknowledgement that we're all located on unceded First Nations land of some kind or another. And I'm grateful to be able to join everyone from Salt Spring. So super happy to be here with y'all and was very excited to see what was going on at Mid Island Co-op. That's our local cooperatively owned gas station. And I thought I'd dig a little, and here we are. We'll be able to find out what's been going on there, and yeah, learn about this really exciting project. So first, I'm just going to quickly go through who we are as Salt Spring Community Energy, and then I'm going to hand it over probably to Chris to lead Shift Energy to talk about from their side what the project is. And then that'll be roughly, I'll take 5 minutes. Maybe if Shift can have about 20 minutes or so. And then I'm going to jump in with some questions, some technical questions. And then we can open it up for the remainder of the hour to any questions that you guys in the audience have. So, Salt Spring Community Energy was formed in 2013, and we just are kind of a little bit geekish, but we're really concerned about climate and community energy with a real focus on community solar has been, one of the ways that we've wanted to respond to the climate crisis. And so we just kind of try to think up things that we could do in our community that can kind of move the needle a little bit on climate solutions. We started out kind of big by raising a bunch of money and putting 21 kilowatts on the local high school in 2014. And that project funds an annual climate scholarship for the students at the high school. So we took the energy bill savings and we got the school district to commit those savings into a scholarship fund. So it's been really fun awarding those scholarships over the last 10 years. Done a bunch of other cool projects. We put a grid tied system and a car charger down at the community gardens. We put 134 and a half kilowatts on the affordable housing projects that were built the last few years, along with 10 EV chargers. So that was a really big project, kind of the biggest in the Gulf Islands. Our role there was more like technical advice and soliciting bids and reviewing bids. We put it out to the installers to take care of that. We also had kind of a big year last year was our 10th anniversary, so we kind of made a big deal about that, and we were managed to rope Bob McDonald from CBC's Quirks and Quarks to come over and give us a talk. And he came on the same day that we managed to get Harbour Air's electric airplane to come for a visit. So that was Harbour Air's first trip to one of their bases from Vancouver, and we made a big deal about that. So we that last year was we organized a whole bunch of events, and not to go too crazy, but we like to do education and we like to do kind of engagement stuff as well. So I was super thrilled to see this project shaping up at the gas station, which we had nothing to do with, and that just makes me so happy that that something as really cutting edge as what you guys have got going on, just materialized. So this is our chance to ask you how that came about and what we've got there. Because this is kind of a community project right down in sort of the heart of our island there. And I I I knew Shift had this roofing product. So when I saw the roof had come off and you were putting in this frame, I pretty much knew what was going on. So I reached out to Shift and Chris and I put this webinar together. So without further ado, Chris, can you jump in and sort of lead a little spiel from Shift Energy on the co-op solar roof?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, Chell, for having us. And thank you, everyone. There's quite a number of people here who tuned in tonight. I understand some from the Sunshine Coast as well. So thank you so much for your interest. Thank you so much for your support of solar and pushing for it, because couldn't agree more. It's totally the future. BIPV is the future, at least in the eyes of Shift. So we're really excited about this project. Shout out to Saltspring. There are no secrets on Saltspring, because I was over there last week. And I was trying to do kind of a fun, video, some content where I was going to ask people in front of the gas station, can you point out the solar panels to me, thinking that people would be like, I don't see any, Chris. And it would be funny because they're right behind me on Mid Island. But everyone just pointed to the roof. They said, "Oh yeah, right up there. Yep, I read it in the paper. I know, Chal, you were working on a press release, which is wonderful to see." Um, Everyone driving by asking questions. I know our on-site teams were getting a lot of questions. So yeah, overall, it's been a wonderful experience to be on Salt Spring. I know our crews enjoyed their time there as well, and we're really excited about this product. So thank you for taking the lead, Shell, and the Salt Spring Community Energy group for taking an interest and reaching out to us to set something like this up. So we're very thankful to be here. My name is Chris. I am the community manager at Shift. So my job, essentially engaging with people about solar and Shift online and offline. That's what I'm doing here today. I'm a bit of a solar hype man, if you will. I'm very passionate about it. And there's two other people on here that I want to introduce you to right now. We have Michael Ayotte, if you want to raise your hand or say hi, Michael.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, welcome and glad to be here.
Michael's the project manager for this install, so he's going to have some great answers tonight for questions. And then Tim Grangine, who's our director of project development at Shift. Tim, give us a wave, say hello. There he is. So there's the three of us from Shift. So we're all going to kind of be answering questions tonight. I just figured I'll just run through a little bit of a PowerPoint. If you guys are okay with that, 10 minutes or less, we can fly through that, and then maybe we can kind of get into some questions and answers. Of course, there is some people from Mid-Island that also want to talk about what happened and what they've done. And I can see Bruce. Bruce, if you want to say hello.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to be here.
Bruce, if you couldn't tell, is the one with co-op behind him.
It's out.
And Kelly, is Kelly on tonight, Bruce?
She had trouble getting on, so I don't believe she made it on.
Okay. All right. Well, Bruce is representing Mid-Island, and we'll have some answers for you as well. So if Bruce, Michael, and Tim, if that's okay with you, I'll just kind of launch into the little bit of a PowerPoint, and we'll show some video of the install, and talk about Roof It a little bit. Does that sound good?
Let her roll, sir.
Let her roll. All right. Let's entire screen. Okay. Share. Let's jump into it.
Wait.
Okay, yeah, there's one photo. Okay, oh, I'm giving it away. I'm giving it away. All right, slide. So I'll do a few of these slides, and then I know Tim put together some wonderful slides on the economic side of things, some of the costs and things like that, and incentives that really help make this project happen. Because what's wonderful about BIPV is you can use incentives to go solar to cover your roof, which is absolutely incredible. So if everybody can see the screen, I'll just dive right in quickly here. So long story short, Shift was founded in 2010 by Colin Strong, our fearless leader. We started with LED retrofits in 2014. We jumped to just solar and battery energy storage systems in 2017. Boom, became a Tesla Powerwall installer in 2019. Then we blew up. We started here on the island and went to the Lower Mainland and the Sunshine Coast. And then we went to Nova Scotia. So we like to say at that time we were coast and coast. And now we're working on slowly filling in the gaps in between. As of 2022, so we're going to be a lot higher than this now, but we were 6 megawatts installed solar. And then we introduced a Roof It Solar by Shift in 2023, which is the product that you're going to look at today on Mid-Island Co-op. And then in 2024, it's been a wild year. We've expanded to Alberta, Ontario, and New Brunswick. So, to Chel's point, it's happening. Solar is slowly working its way towards mainstream, and people are moving along the adoption curve. And a large part of that is they're seeing it. They're starting to see it on houses and buildings, on gas bars, thanks to Mid-Island Co-op that they drive past every day. So all of a sudden now it's part of the everyday conversation, which we are incredibly excited about. Roof It Solar, this is the product that is on Mid-Island Co-op on the gas bar right now. This is as you can see, there's a residential install on the right there. That was our first ever install. I could break it down, but if you want to look at your screen, you can kind of see some of the specs on each of these panels. I'll let you kind of have a bit of a read through there, and we'll do Q&A right after this. I think actually, Chell, did you have somebody that's going to be monitoring questions?
Yeah, David's monitoring the chat. So after I get through with my questions, we can open it up.
Yeah, I know you're chomping at the bit. I know Chell sent some wonderful questions earlier, so we'll try to get to everybody's questions. So there's some stats. There's 232 panels on the Mid-Island Co-op, 160 watts each. We'll get into that in a second. Let me just hit go on the slide. So here's a couple quick videos of some residential installs that we've done. Hopefully everyone knows. Yeah. So that's a 6.7 kilowatt system just off Admirals Road in Victoria that we did. And then this is a 16 kilowatt system. This was actually our first install. Oh, so beautiful, am I right?
Very nice.
Just have to show this one shot here. It took me 7 tries. So a little bias. I obviously flew the drone and edited those. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, BIPV is not only about producing energy, but it's also about aesthetics and streamlining it and showcasing it as part of the build. And so I love those two installs. The one that we're here to talk about today is Mid-Island. So there it is. Yes, David, I like that. I support that. It's an absolutely gorgeous install, and I want to shout out our team members. I'm gonna miss some, but Eric and Sean and Barney and another Sean and Brett, and there was a number of people on the actual install team that the locals would have got to know over the last 4 weeks, I believe. They loved their time there, and they did an absolutely fantastic job on the install. And then, of course, there was Tim and his team, which we'll hear from in a second on the design, and Michael on making sure everything was good and with the install, making sure everything went according to plan. 37.12 kilowatt solar metal roof, 232 panels, going to produce just over 35,000 kilowatt hours a year, and looks like annual offset just over 50%, average annual lifetime savings of about $6,500. And now we get to watch the video. I was over last week shooting this one. generating electricity.
Got a nice sunny day by the looks of it too there, Chris.
So yeah, it's really proud of that one. As you can say, I'm a pretty energetic guy, and that makes me smile. Wonderful to see that on Salt Spring Island. Now, in terms of the business side, I believe I'm going to pass this over to Tim. So, Tim, if you want to say hi and take over, my friend, I'll let you cover this.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, hi everybody. So just a couple of slides here on available incentives that can help support adoption for these types of solar projects. There's a newly announced federal clean technology ITC, and this is a 30% direct investment tax credit that's refundable. Any taxable Canadian corporation can qualify for this using eligible property like solar. We'll get into a little bit more of how that applies to the numbers in one of the next slides. But I'll just move on to the next point here for now. Another option or another incentive, if you will, has been around for quite a while is the capital cost allowance program. This is a little bit of a different program in the sense that it's allowing Canadian corporations to accelerate the write-off of the asset that they are acquiring. So this has been around since 2018 and it's being phased out in a couple of years. We've got a bit of a table here showing in the very right-hand side column what the enhanced first year allowances from the CRA. And so right now we're in the year 2024, meaning that a corporation can take 75% of the undepreciated capital cost of their investment and write all of that off in the year that the expenses incurred. Moving on to the next slide, please, Chris.
Okay,
I think we skipped one there.
there we go.
And then second to that is the fairly newly announced BC Hydro incentives, which Jel, I know you're familiar with these, but for the group, there's $1,000 per kilowatt that BC Hydro is offering, up to 5 kilowatts for residential projects and 25,000 for commercial projects. So in this instance, like Chris had shown, we have a 37 kilowatt system. We would be capping out on the commercial building incentive at $25,000. There is also a top-up option for this program where specified customers can actually qualify for a rebate top-up up to $3,000 per kilowatt, up to $75,000 as shown on the screen here. Next slide. So here, we've broken down some general pricing of a commercial building integrated solar project. This is a bit of a tough one because there are a lot of variables that can impact the project cost. For example, roof pitch, roof geometry, project location, as well as like how much of the roof overall is being covered in solar. It is a standing seam metal roofing product, but we might not need to cover an entire roof with the solar product. In this case, on the co-op building, we had, most of the upper east and west facing roofs covered with the solar product, with some sections of non-solar roofing product. So we've got a 25 and a 50 kilowatt system broken down here with the project costs less the hydro incentive. Following that, the ITC gets taken off of the project cost after the local incentive, and that is at 30% of the net cost of the incentive. And then we're left with where it says our subtotal less ITC. That would be our undepreciated capital cost. and that's the amount that the CRA would allow a corporation to accelerate as a write-off. So all in all, it does depend on the size of the system, and every corporation is going to have a bit of a different structure, but we're in a lot of cases we're able to offset upwards of 50% of the project cost through these amazing incentives right now. So it's a great time for us in the industry, and it's really cool to finally see some of the support that we've been wanting to see for a long time. With these, we're looking at a simple payback period of about 13 years. And I do have some assumptions listed below. And again, this is pretty cool for building integrated solar product, solar and a roof 2-in-1. So
I think that's what we got to remember, that this is your roof as well as you're generating electricity. That's what makes this so incredible. Thank you very much, Tim.
thank you.
And then I think it's just Q&A now. We kind of ran through our spiel. And so, Chell, like I said, I know you're ready to answer some questions, and hopefully I have some answers for you. Before we
Yeah.
do that, actually, I don't know if Bruce, you want to just introduce yourself and talk about maybe how this came to be for Mid-Island?
Bruce Buckingham. I'm the director of energy for Mid-Island Co-op. I've been with the co-op system for quite a while, 2.5 years with Mid-Island specifically. This project here started, I would say, about 4 years ago. So I picked it up after I arrived. And basically, it kind of falls under the vision of Mid-Island Co-op, to proudly provide diversified services and support every community that we serve. So basically, it's a diversified service as far as the generation and being good managers of our resources. Also, for our goals for 2024 and 25, to enhance our environmental responsibility by adopting practices that reduce reduce energy uses and create sustainable energy. The environmental footprint. Actually, this is in two parts. Just excuse me 1 second. I'll go back to that. So the environmental footprint is one part, which is just to reduce our energy by 2% over the next 2 years, and alternate energy, which is used in solar energy installations on our co-op-owned facilities. So this is probably our first crack at it, and then we'll continue to look at different opportunities and move forward from there. So basically part of our vision with our environmental footprint and our goals moving forward.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bruce. And Kelly, welcome to the chat. I see the tech worked out for you. Kelly Cartwright, who joined us, is also from Mid-Island. If you want to just say hello and introduce yourself.
Thank you for sending me the link, and sorry, a bit of a late entrance there. My name is Kelly Cartwright. I'm an area manager for the energy division of Mid-Island Co-op. I oversee 9 gas bars, and Saltspring is one of mine. Also born and raised on Saltspring, so it's a little bit of a passion project for me as well.
Amazing. I should also nod, you guys mentioned EV chargers coming. I don't know if you want to share that here.
Yes, that's right. We've at the moment we're in the process of installing 7 different EV chargers. One of which will start shortly at Saltspring. So we currently have one up and operational and working at Sayward. That's been there since 2023. And then along with Saltspring, we'll have Gabriola, Lake Cowichan, Bowen Road, in Nanaimo, Chemainus, Cranberry in the Nanaimo as well, and Parksville. So all underway at various different stages of installation, with a hope by the end of January to have them energized.
Amazing. As you can see, obviously it takes, a progressive business model and mind frame to achieve these goals. So congrats to Mid-Island on that, and we're glad to be a part of it for sure.
Thank you.
Chris, just also add on the how this came about. One of the important things that any building should be looking at with energy conservation with energy resiliency and sustainability is to conserve before looking at generation. And I think we all kind of know that. And I think part of how this came about as well is just playing on the success of we've done a lot of the lighting upgrades for the Mid-Island co-ops to, successfully reduce their energy usage, and that was something that's happened over a number of years before my time at Shift. And so just kind of playing off of that. From an energy standpoint, I can't speak for the co-op, but I see this as kind of an icing on the cake, project, topping it all off. So.
That's right, Tim, and that was I left that part out, but prior to myself, for that, a lot of that work had already been done as far as the changing out the lighting and so on. So that's I think we have a couple sites to finish up, or on the liquor side as well. So the finish off that piece of the work.
Beautiful. I guess this brings us to the Q&A.
All
Chell,
right.
you charge on that.
Well, thanks, guys. A lot of my questions were answered, and if I could, my underlying question is the whole story of how the project came about. And I guess if what I'm picking up is that Mid-Island Co-op has had a bit of a vision for their energy consumption and sustainability, and they probably met Shift at some point through the LED lighting, it sounds like. So it sounds like just an evolution of two businesses, working sort of towards something like this. So that's fantastic. And I really hope we see lots more of this. Um, and Tim, is that something that you lead us those kinds of conversations, like relationships with businesses like Mid-Island?
It's a group effort. I owe a lot of this as well to, the relationships that Colin, our founder, has developed over time. I mean, the relationship with the co-ops, like I said, was rooted before my time here. But yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to be interested in just the practical things like you put a roof on, can't leak. How long is it good for? Is there a warranty on this kind of project?
Tim, if you want to take that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't sure when it was my time there. So yeah, no, we offer a 10-year labor and workmanship warranty on our building integrated solar projects. From the research we've done, that is sort of leading edge on the roofing contractor's side as a standard. You see the 1 year, the 5 year, and we've always wanted to be on the higher end of the spectrum in terms of a value proposition. The metal itself comes with a 50-year warranty, and then the solar product, it's like similar to any conventional solar panel. It has that 25-year. Sorry if I'm sniffling. I'm just getting over a cold. 25-year power output degradation guarantee.
And that's something unique to Shift is our 25-year production guarantee on every system we install. We guarantee the production in that proposal, that contract that you sign, we guarantee for 25 years. If it doesn't meet that, we'll actually compensate you for the difference.
So the actual solar technology itself, is it a silicon um, wafer in the solar panel, or is it a thin film, or who
It
knows?
it's a standard monocrystalline PV cell that gets heat baked to the metal roof. So it's no different than today's conventional cells.
Yeah, so that would be silicon. Great. Now, I heard somebody describe the Tesla solar roof as being tricky because it's a combination of roofing and electrical, and you don't always get people who have those two skill sets together. Roofers aren't typically electricians, and electricians aren't typically roofers. So how have you managed to bring those two worlds together within your company?
Who wants to take this one? I don't know Sean's credentials off the top of my head.
Who knows?
Michael's the
Yeah, no,
project.
I'd be happy to take that one. I think it's, Tim mentioned it's a team effort. So on our team, for example, on the install team, we have carpenters, installers. We have a colleague who's got 30 years of architectural sheet metal roofing experience. So we have the roofing experience and know-how on the team technically. And then, of course, we've got crew that are experienced installing the roofed panels themselves. So between those three, and of course, obviously electricians, right? So the crew lead being the primary electrician on the job, overseeing the entire effort. So kind of working with me to implement all the work. So yeah, it's definitely a team effort, and it's a well-rounded expertise that we provide and bring to these projects.
Yeah, we brought in a roofer exclusively to work with our BIPV products for the exact reason you said, Chell. There's a difference, roofing, electrical. You need both worlds to come together for this. So we brought in Sean Hunter's his name to lead the roofing side of this installs like this.
Cool. So on the electrical side, because I'm definitely a solar geek, what's the inverter architecture? Are the panels strung together for a string inverter, or are there micro inverters, or how does
Yeah,
that work?
yeah, it's a single multi MPPT 208 volt string inverter. Yeah.
Cool. And was there thought about having a battery associated with this? I know those get really complicated and expensive.
Yeah, I don't know that we've broached it at this point with the co-op. I think it remains to be something that could always be looked at down the road. Um, I think 25K on a commercial PV system is great, and I think there's probably still a lot of room on the energy storage side, right? Depending on the need and the use case.
Yeah. So comparing this roofing product, sorry, what did you call it again? The actual panel, you have a name for it?
This panel is Roof It Solar by
Roof It
Shin.
Solar. Okay, so the Roof It Solar, how's the energy density compared to like if you put a metal roof on and then you put solar panels on? Are they kind of similar, or would you get more kilowatts if you went with solar panels, traditional solar panels? Is it like and also with that, what is the square footage of that roof? It looks pretty big.
Yeah, I don't have the square footage offhand here, but um, you know, the RoofIt product, like conventional solar right now, if you're looking at like a 500 watt 66 cell panel, you're probably getting, there's a number of ways to look at this, right? And panel to panel, you might be getting you are getting probably 30% more energy density, like on the efficiency scale. Like we're talking, 21-ish percent, whereas the integrated products closer to like 16. But what I found is it really just depends on the site because sometimes you get an extra full row or two rows of modules on that one piece of geometry, right? That one roof. And so, it can be a bit of a net gain in some cases. It could be a net loss. Um, but in any case, it is pretty comparable. And what I've found as well, and Bruce, you might be able to speak to this. I think a lot of what's driving the interest in the integrated product is that two-in-one element, and it is that the aesthetic component, blending PV into the architectural side of the building.
It is very much so. It wasn't. I'll admit it wasn't initially thought of that way, but once we saw the product and know how it really looks and works, it makes sense now. Initially, it was like, well, we got to change the roof too. But after we put the two and two together, it does have an added benefit.
I think that's so important to remember that for every, maybe efficiency is a little down on these panels, but it's your roof as well. So what you're losing in efficiency, you're gaining in a roof. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure it does. So I think there might be some builders or designers or architects with us. And what can you tell us about the cost of a project like this? There's some super great incentives, it looks like, that are going to really make the business case.
I could pull the slide up again. I know Tim touched on that in one of those slides on kind of general projects around this, if you wanted me to, or
Yeah, if that works for you, Joe.
Sure, I know there's probably some curious people out there who like to get a handle on what are you talking about for if they're thinking about it for their projects.
Yeah, no, and I mean we'd be happy to provide, project specific, indicative proposals for anybody who might be interested.
Right.
Uh, you know,
it
what
is.
I did here was I put together a bit of a table for, a 25 and a 50 kilowatt system. Now, depending on the nature of what you're looking at, if it's a house, it might look a little bit different. Right? Or if it's
Right.
I
yeah.
think one reason that we do complimentary proposals on our projects is for the exact reason Tim's talking about. Every project is so unique and there's so many variables, as you know, in solar. So, we're always weary of throwing out exact numbers. So that's why Tim put this together. I think it highlights kind of your base examples of systems. And then once you get into the nitty gritty, all of a sudden you look at the roof, you look at, oh, you know what? We can get 3 extra panels over here. We don't need panels here. The sun hits from this angle, dotted obstructions, da 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 da, orientation, angle. I mean, you know how all that stuff works.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Well, I mean, I think I've got all my questions answered.
Oh, and you had a lot. I feel good about
Well,
that.
I know you guys have done an excellent job. We've got roughly 15 minutes, and I think we've got there's a hand up here.
Okay.
Janice Chung, can you unmute yourself and ask?
Yes, thank you. I think related to that last point in that you're putting up the solar panel as well as roof at the same time. A lot of the traditional systems for solar will say we're only going to put it up on the aspect and the proper sloping of a typical roof. In this case here, the entire roof has been replaced. Are there certain sections of it that are not, quote unquote, a solar panel and it's just blended in? Or is the whole thing a solar panel? And so therefore, if there are areas that are not perhaps, that are north facing, that they're still catching some, but they're not as efficient as one that's south facing.
I think Michael, you can speak to the non-solar and the solar portions of this project.
Yeah, the main solar is on the east and west facings, which is on the top section of the roof you see there. The lower canopy section is non-solar, traditional 24 gauge architectural sheet metal. That being said, to sort of finish the edges, if you will, on the top section of roof, there are non-solar trim or borders, if you will, particularly along the eaves and where we integrate the snow guard, fastening of the snow guards as well through that non-solar metal, to the non-solar metal, I should say. Yeah. Did that answer your question, Janice?
Yes, thank you.
I noticed too, there were a bunch of questions coming through on the chat that I noticed while people were speaking.
Yeah, just jump in there, anybody.
Sorry, I was just going to say something I learned actually in talking about this project was venting. There are no vents like you might see on an asphalt shingle roof, and I thought it was pretty cool how that's done. And also a question that we do get around this product a lot is heat. What's the heat like behind the panel? So Michael, I know.
Yeah, well, actually, just to clarify though, there is venting. I think Chris,
for sure.
What you were saying, Chris, was that you can't see it. So it's hidden. It's hidden along the ridge cap on the top roof section, obviously, to vent the attic. There's also an air gap underneath the panels, which is somebody was asking about concealing the wires. So wires run in that cavity under the panels, and then there's obviously airflow coming in through the eaves. and stack effect kind of driving everything up out of the attic, venting the attic up through the central venting that runs along the ridge, the top ridge of the roof.
Another question we get about is hail. 165 kilometers per hour impact resistant is the roof at panels. So I think if there's mathematicians in here, maybe you can call me out, but I think it's like a 4-inch hailstone has to fall to even maybe potentially. I mean, hey, don't quote me on that, Bruce. Don't quote me on this, but that's what the impact rating is on these panels. They're pretty durable.
So my friend Risa from Gabriel has had a question about the cabling, and the further question, I think you sort of answered that one. Further question was how warm does the system get? Is it typical, like,
Oh,
is it similar to how warm normal solar panels get in the full sun?
that's beyond my technical knowledge, but maybe Tim, maybe Tim knows the answer to that one, or Chris.
I mean, it sounds like you've accounted for the heat issue by integrating a vent into this roof. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So,
I mean,
like
the venting is to ensure that the roof itself is vented, but again, the added benefit of the cavity is to conceal wires. Sorry, Tim, I cut you off there.
yeah, no, all good. Yeah, they have the same temperature range as like a typical solar panel. So like that minus 40 to plus 85 Celsius. Haven't put a temperature sensor up there in the heat of the summer myself. But you know, the uh the product development team I'm sure has. I feel like that's one that we should take away, Chris and Michael, and um, you know, have that answer for next time. Because I'm sure it's been done. It's just a matter of like
I
what
can
that
I
return.
can to the solar panels heating up. I mean, the wonderful thing about solar in Canada is solar panels are actually more efficient in Canada than they are on the equator. And that's due to the fact that just like any electronic device, when your phone heats up, what happens? It says, "I'm sorry, I can't work very well. I'm too hot." Same thing with the solar panel. So I run a podcast. Here comes the plug right now. It's called the Solar PV Cast. Check it out. And on this podcast, I actually had a chat with a gentleman from Iqaluit, Nunavut, and he has the only solar residential home in Iqaluit, and his panels are vertical on the side of his house. And he says his 250-watt panels actually produce 275, 280 watts because of the colder temperatures and the beautiful sunny skies, obviously in the summer. So I would assume so much so for roof it as well, you know, with a cooler Saltspring, you know, mild summer day, it's actually going to produce more than it would if it was on a house on the equator, just by the fact that it's working better.
Got Keith has got his hands up.
Yeah, hi. I had a bunch of questions, but I won't overstay my welcome too much. I'm just in the process of moving on to Saltspring. And full disclosure, Shift is putting a system on my house. So just curious, one of the slides there had something called an average annual lifetime savings. So that number, does that mean it's probably front loaded? Because I would assume the drop, if you're averaging an annual, like how long is the lifetime on that calculation? And then, yeah, the bottom point there. And then I'm assuming that'd be front loaded as the panels become less efficient over time.
Yeah, that's a 30-year number, 3% annual utility rate escalation, and then the annual PV output degradation over that 30-year period as well.
Yeah, so if the output is linearly decreasing, that's your roughly midpoint annual savings. Is that the way to think of that?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. And it's really nice to see another product in the market that does a roof. I know Tesla struggled whenever there's coves and angles and everything like that, and it really likes a nice flat straight roof. Do you see the in the future, because the ultimate cells are the same, you don't see a point where that converges, where the roof, as the density that was asked, sort of converges with panels that are being put on roofs?
Could happen.
Yeah, it would have to take some. And then this is a question you may not want to answer, but I've heard that Shift is developing their own system in-house. Is that something you want to talk about?
I am not involved with the development of that, but I can confirm that we are developing our own product in-house that is essentially, the roofed product with it being, um, it's made in Estonia. Everything is in metric. We need something that works in imperial, and so we're applying, we're basically value engineering it, and we'll have something in the years to come, but still no timelines on that.
Very cool. Thank you.
So I've got a question in the chat. I guess it's more for the co-op, maybe Kelly or about the chargers. Do you know, or Bruce, do you know anything about how powerful they'll be or what charging standard they're gonna be using?
They're a level 3
Good.
charger from Flow Energy.
Okay. Are they gonna work on the North American charging standard, the one that people are moving to? Or are they gonna be?
That's my understanding of what it is, yes. Not as familiar with it as the techs are, but that's my understanding.
Cool. Well, we've been,
To Saltspring is that would be the first, I think, right?
I think so. First level
Yes.
3, I believe.
yes, well, we've been wanting that technology for a long time. It's a little island, but there's a lot of cars here and be fantastic to get some fast charging here.
It's gonna be a busy charger.
It could well be.
So, yeah.
Sounds like
I
Take a
think
number.
what Mid-Island's got to do is hand out bumper stickers, Bruce, that say "Driving on Sunshine" when you leave those chargers.
There you
Right.
go.
permission to use that phrase then? We'll coin that.
I see a co-branding deal in the making there.
I was gonna say we need a little shift logo at the end of it,
I
I
figured that was coming.
think.
Well, a lot of us in Saltspring Community Energy, we don't go to the co-op very much anymore unless we need gasoline for our chainsaws or lawnmowers. A lot of us have transitioned to electric vehicles, along with the old heat pumps, solar, electric vehicles. We're definitely on
Sounds
the program.
like
So, so you'll get us back. And I mean, a lot of us are members anyways, whether we have we buy gas anymore or not. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yep,
great.
sure. No, come inside and check out our store. We sell more than just fuel.
Oh yeah, when it's hot and I need one of those ice drinks for sure.
Absolutely.
Careful, you might start your habit again of or whatever it is.
Yeah, right. So
Any other questions?
any other questions? Got one in the chat. Tom Mitchell, he's an electric car guy. He wants to know how many wands will be on the charger.
How many wands did you say?
Yeah, how many cars can plug in at the same time?
Kelly, just confirm this is 2, is there not?
Yeah, it'll be 2 with so 2 different hookups on the same unit, so 2 cars at a time.
Nice. So Kelly, you went to GISS, is that right?
I did, yeah.
It's really awesome to run into you guys, even in this work. The head guy at Harbor Air in charge of all the maintenance, he's a GISS guy. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
Families all moved off now, unfortunately, but I definitely make it over every couple of weeks to visit the site, and
Oh, perfect.
it's nice that not a lot has changed.
Yeah, well, we like our Salt Spring. There's a hand up from Wolfgang. You have a question, Wolfgang?
Yeah, how does the wiring withstand rodents, and how do you keep them out of there? Has that been a problem or not?
Yeah, good question. All the wiring is concealed. There's no real access points for rodents per se. So it underneath the array, we drop down through the roof into the building, into the electrical room. Or down the exterior wall rather, and in sealed conduit. So it's not a concern in this case. I see Ashley too asking about energy generated back feeding the grid. So yes, part of the implementation of the project is to manage the self-generation application for the Mid-Island Co-op, that application to BC Hydro. And then through that application, the Mid-Island Co-op can then apply for the hydro rebate. So at the end of that, once that final approval is in place, which we're now working through the last stages of, the co-op will benefit from feeding back any excess power that they don't use on site from their existing loads. Did I answer your question there, Ashley? Okay.
Wonderful. Well, if there's no more, thank you so much. On behalf of
I'd just like to ask, is there a charge to charge your car on a charger?
There will be a charge for it. We haven't determined how that's going to work out yet, but there will be one.